Hey guys, this is Ramon. I'm super excited to be with you guys on today. Hey. Happy to see you. I just want to hop on here and talk about vision boards. I know a lot of you guys, because it's the end of the year, a lot of you guys are going to be working on vision boards, preparing for the new year. But I want to talk about why I personally don't like vision boards. And I want to kind of give you 3 reasons that I can think of that I don't really like vision boards. And I'm going to tell you an alternative that I've found that has worked a lot better for me and for people that I've taught and coached better than vision boards. So first thing is, I don't like vision. Well, let me rephrase that. I actually have seen a lot of success with vision boards, so I'm not going to knock vision boards. I know of a few people who've actually, their vision boards are amazing. And I know one person in particular who every single thing on her vision board has come to pass before she even turned like 30, I believe. Like literally everything that she put on her vision board came to pass, which was amazing. And so I'm not saying vision boards don't work. I'm not saying they're not effective. I'm not saying that they can't be successful. I'm not saying that they're great. I'm just saying there is an alternative method or alternative way to vision boards, because a lot of times we go with trends, and because a vision board is such a popular thing, we like going and doing them. And I think they can be really effective for the right person, but I don't think they're the best thing for everybody. So for those of you guys who don't know what a vision board is basically at the end of the year, it's kind of like a visual scrapbooking, where you basically visualize your future through scrapbooking. And so you get a poster board, you grab some magazines, you cut out, you think about the things you want to happen that year or within your lifetime. You cut out pictures or images from magazines or newspapers, or you print them out from Google Images or whatever, of things that represent kind of what you want, the kind of house you want, the kind of car you want, maybe a stack of money because you want a lot of money. And then you put those things on a vision board, and once you put them on a vision board, then you basically hope that they happen, right? And usually if you have it posted in your house, it kind of gives you some like generalized goals that you can strive toward and strive for, but you can reach them and pursue them, and you can see them right in front of you. It's a good way of visualizing and keeping your goals right in front of you. Now, there are 3 reasons that I don't really like vision boards. Number 1 is that they aren't clear, okay? What I mean by that is oftentimes you are trying to find images and pictures and paper and documents that somewhat represent where you want your vision to go. However, there is no really specificity to exactly how those things relate to where you are unless you've seen it on your own. And so let's say I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in Broken Arrow by this time next year, right? Well, my vision board, I can go and find a picture of a house that looks kind of similar to what I like, and I can put it on the board and I can pursue it on there. But I can, it's on there and it's like, it's cool, but then where do I go from there, right? And so like literally that to me is not a really effective thing, because even though I have a picture of a house on there, I'm not really sure what to do from there. And it's really great to look at. It's a really great reminder of what my house could look like or what I can do. But if I don't have any other actionable steps after that on what to do, if I don't have any clear steps on what happens from there, then I'm not going to do it, right? The second reason why I don't like vision boards is because they do not have a strategy to them, right? And what I mean by that is everything I post on my board doesn't come with a strategy automatically. And so oftentimes what I've seen with people with vision boards is that they spend hours and weeks and days creating this really beautiful board that's amazing and that's awesome, but without a strategy behind how each of those things are going to come to pass, then it becomes pointless. It's kind of like, okay, I have this really cool board, I put this really cool stuff on it, it looks pretty, it looks really amazing, but then it doesn't work out for me. I don't know what to do with it from there. I'm like, okay, what do I do with that? And it kind of sits on there and it looks pretty and looks really cool, but they don't have really any actionable goals toward it. And the last reason why I don't like vision boards is because, to be quite honest and to really be quite frank, oftentimes, right, they don't necessarily, well, they become very restrictive. I've seen a lot of people when it comes to vision boards is that when they put their vision on there, they don't refine it, they don't redo it, they don't go change it, and they become very restrictive of where they are, right? So vision boards can sometimes
chain you to what you think you want at the moment without being fluid to where you're going, right? So you create a vision board for your life, or you create a vision board for the year, and you pretty much become, okay, that's what I want, right? But what if 6 weeks or 6 months or 2 years from now, your goals change, your life changes? How can you effectively represent those transitions and what you're wanting to do in a vision board? You had to create a new one every year. And then what happens to the other year? And then now you got all these things on your board, and let's say you don't accomplish them or it changes for you, then you become disappointed because, oh man, I want it to happen this time this year, and it doesn't happen for you, right? And so those are the 3 reasons why I don't like vision boards. Now, as an alternative, my favorite thing to do is what I call milestones, right? And I like to create life milestones, and I also like to create SMART goals in connection with those life milestones. So here's kind of what this process has looked like and the way I've taught people how to do this, right? So having a vision board is great for a visual, but it doesn't give you any strategy to it. But milestones, right, where you connect them with SMART goals, right, give you strategic direction, and it allows you to be more fluid and organic in how you move forward with the things that you want to do in your life and your future. So what's an example of a milestone, right? On a vision board, I may put on there that I want to go to college, have a picture of a college on there. Let's say I want to go to college, or let's say I want to work a particular kind of job, a corporate job, and then I can like cut a picture of the corporate, of the whatever the job is on there, and then put a picture of the job or whatever, the office, or me speaking in the office, whatever, on the vision board. With a milestone though, what I do is I use a process of outlining what is my impact. What impact do I want to have in the world around me? What impact do I want to have in my family? What impact do I want to have with my friends? What impact do I want to have on myself? And what impact do I want to have on the world around me? And then let me reverse engineer, right, that impact using SMART goals, right? So a really good example in a way of doing this is, instead of doing a vision board, write a letter to yourself. Either if you're going to do it for the year or for the next 30 years or for your lifetime, write a letter to yourself, to your future self, or from your future self, of what kind of impact that you want to have. Okay, so you're going to write a letter to from your future self of what kind of impact that you want to have in your life, right? And you're going to talk about, again, your impact to yourself, your impact to your family, to your friends, and to the world around you, right? What specific impact that you want to have. And then after you write that letter to yourself, then take all of the different things you want to be impactful in and create milestones on that, right? And so let's say, for example, for me, my goal is to be a worldwide, globally renowned speaker, right? I want to speak around the world. I want to be able to really do it and change their lives in branding and inspire people around the world. That's a really big goal of mine. So for me, an example of that could be writing a letter to myself. And in my letter, I talk about the thousands of people that I've impacted and influenced in my speaking, right? And then from there, when I create that, then I create milestones. What milestones will I have to accomplish in order to really get to that speaking? Because again, the end goal is to be a world-renowned speaker, but in order to get there, there has to be a timeline or milestones to my life that allows me to do that, right? And so I get a sheet of paper where I can type it out, and I document milestones that's going to get me to speaking. Well, I need to have my speaking website. I need to get a speaking reel. I need to land my first engagements. I maybe need to go to school for speaking or go to a training for speaking. I may need to reach out. There are some specific milestones that I'm going to be required to have and do in order for me to be a public speaker and to do it long term. And then with those milestones, I attach with each milestone, I'm going to attach what we call SMART goals. Okay. And so every milestone that I create is going to have SMART goals attached to it. And so I have my letter to myself that I can always read every year at the forefront, right? Because it's based on the impact that I want to make in the world around us, right? Like, what is the purpose of my life? What impact do I want to make? How do I want to change people's life? I write a letter to myself. I create milestones to reach those specific goals. And then I create SMART goals, which are very specific, that allows me to get to my actual milestones, which allows me to get to my impact goals. Okay. So SMART goals are, and we call them SMART because SMART is an acronym. SMART stands for your goals should be specific, measurable, attainable, right? Realistic, and time bound. Okay. So specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So what does that mean when it comes to creating really specific goals, right? So if my goals are milestones, which ultimately lead to my impact goals, right? Like my purpose, where I want to go ultimately, then I have to have these very specific goals. Basically, your goals should be so clear, right, that anyone else could do them. What does that mean? My goal that I want to accomplish should be so clearly written on paper and so clearly written down that literally anybody can do them, right? I can give it to my friend, and there's such specificity to what I want to do that my friend could do my goals for me if they wanted to, right? The example I like to always give is the example of a recipe book, or when you go into a recipe book, when you're going to go learn how to cook. Whenever you're learning how to cook something, or whenever you're wanting to cook something new, when you have a recipe book, that cookbook or that recipe book has specific instructions that no matter where you are and what you're doing, if you repeat these steps step by step, you should be able to accomplish the same results of what you see in that picture or what somebody did before you created the recipe. I used to work at McDonald's a long time ago, and every time we made a Big Mac or a double cheeseburger, we used what we call a planogram, or in other words, it's a recipe. And that recipe told me exactly which bun to use, how many pieces of meat to use, what sauce to use, even the order in which I was supposed to put those things, right? Well, when I did that, it was super duper specific on how to do that. So no matter where you ate the Big Mac at or the cheeseburger at, whether you were in Tulsa or LA, it was going to taste the exact same way, right? That's how specific your goal should be. The M stands for measurable. You have to have a way to measure your goal, right? And this is why I love SMART goals connected to milestones. Because if I don't have a way of measuring if I'm accomplishing that, then it's not going to be effective at all. So an example of SMART goals or measurable goals, there are two different forms of measurable goals you want to consider. There are quantifiable, okay, and they're quantitative and qualitative goals. Quantitative goals are goals that are measured by numbers. Qualitative goals are goals that are measured by meaning, okay? So quantitative goals can be something as simple as, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to read 7 books. I want to travel to 5 states. I want to save $5,000, right? Those are quantitative goals. Qualitative goals, QUA versus QUAL versus QUAN, are goals that can be we can do in a short period of time, right? And so sometimes we don't tend to estimate what our ability to do pretty well. And so knowing that something is attainable isn't necessarily putting your loftiest goals and your biggest goals in one category, right? It's not saying, okay, this is the biggest goal that I have, I want to get it done this year. No, it's saying, how do I map out my goals to make it attainable within the time span that I put it? And do I have the ability to do that? Okay. The R stands for realistic. Is it realistic for you to accomplish that? It's really unrealistic to say I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to save $1,000 when I win the lottery, right? It's not realistic to say that. It is realistic to say that I'm going to save $1,000 by saving $100 every month for the next 10 months, right? That's more realistic. And so you got to make sure that when you're accomplishing or creating your goals, that they're realistic. And then the T stands for time bound. You want to have a deadline. A goal remains a dream if it doesn't have a deadline. Again, a goal remains a dream if it doesn't have a deadline. You have to think for yourself, how do I put a deadline to my goal? Because that's the only way it's going to accomplish, right? So the S stands for specific, the M stands for measurable, the A stands for attainable, the R stands for realistic, and the T stands for time bound, right? When I attach SMART goals to milestones that's based on the impact that I want to make in the world around me, and that's based on the impact and the influence I want to create, that's what creates real change in my life. Now, the benefit of this is fluid, right? My milestones may not change much because it's based on my impact. When I found is people typically their impact, they want to remain the same. But my goals, my impact may change. Like my impact may not change, but my milestones may change on how I get there, right? And so if I've written this letter to myself on the impact that I want to make, typically that doesn't change, right? Usually we're pretty consistent with the kind of change we want to make in the world around us, in the impact that we want to make. Usually it gets bigger. It doesn't usually get smaller. It usually gets bigger. And so we can add to that impact, right? But I can change my milestones based on where I am for that year. And so let's say, for example, I want to be like, again, I told you one of my greatest legacies I want to be a nationally, internationally, world recognized speaker and impact maker across the world, right? Well, that's not going to change. I know that's not going to change. What will change though is maybe the milestones that I use to get there, you know? And every single year, here's the key word, I can audit my milestones, right? I can audit to see if the milestones that I created, are they most effective for me? I don't have to keep myself chained or glued down to a particular thing because it's not set in stone. I can audit my milestones, right? And then when I audit my milestones, I can shift my goals to be more effective for what I want. Sometimes some of those milestones can be accelerated, right? There's something that me and my wife have been really dreaming about that we thought maybe it was going to come a lot longer than we thought it was, but it's actually going to come a lot sooner, which is pretty amazing, right? And so now we're able to adjust our milestones and how we're going to accomplish that thing because things in our life change, situations change, finances change, and now we're able to adjust and accelerate things to make that happen, right? So the thing is, the long-term legacy and impact that you want to make probably won't change much. If anything, it may grow. However, you can shift and modify your milestones, and you can modify your goals to get there, which makes it a lot more flexible to do that. So that's one of the reasons why I don't like vision boards. Again, I'm not saying they're bad. They're freaking amazing for the people who know how to use them, but I don't think they're the best thing for every single person out there. And I want to give you guys an alternative way to use things, another method outside of vision boards. And if you still want a visual to that, one thing I tell a lot of students to do is when you write the letter to yourself and when you write out those goals, for every goal that you write out, find a picture and and attach a picture to that goal. And so it can be kind of like your own, like do a folder on your computer. And for every goal that you did the SMART goal method to, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound, every single goal that you have that you went through that process with, add a picture that kind of represents that goal for you as a way of visualizing that so that you can still have the visual part of that, but you don't necessarily have to be chained or not know exactly what that picture means and how you're going to get there. So yeah, that's my thoughts about that. I hope you guys are having a great day. Thank you guys so much, and I hope to see you guys again later.